Are you lacking confidence about how to make investment decisions, or is it possible that you're actually overconfident? Either one can happen, and both of these can affect your bottom line no matter how long you've been investing. So, in this episode, we're going to be talking about signs to watch out for and how to make better investment decisions and manage your confidence level. Okay, stay tuned and let's get into it. And welcome to this episode of Market Mindset with Leslie Quander. I am your host, Leslie Quander, and today we are talking about confidence, both a lack of confidence and even overconfidence, and how one or both of these could be affecting your investing decisions or your trading decisions in a negative way. Look, and this even goes for experienced investors and experienced traders. So I'm just going to hop right into the confidence piece, right? If you have a lack of confidence, I will hop right into that. So think about life, right? And think about when we lack confidence, all the things that we are afraid to try, right? And even when it comes to like making new friends or romantic relationships, if you don't have confidence in yourself, you're probably not going to put yourself out there. You may not be willing to talk to other people around you, right? Like a lack of confidence can really hold you back from opportunity. And the same is really true in investing, right? If you lack confidence, a lot of people who lack confidence find themselves off on the sidelines when the market gives us opportunities to hop in. A lot of people who lack confidence find themselves, not understanding the opportunities that a bear market can present, or they find themselves, with money sitting in the bank for years and years and years and not really understanding or feeling confident in their ability to make investments over time, right? To make calculated investments. So if you have a lack of confidence, that can kind of manifest as fear, right? And that fear can then keep you from DCAing, even from doing your research, from reaching out to other people in the community, from, getting opinions from people who've been in the market longer than you, because maybe you're scared that you'll look stupid. Like a lack of confidence really can hold us back when it comes to investing and when it comes to trading. And it can actually, as you probably know, you may have experienced this, it can actually lead you to make mistakes, right? It can lead you to doubt your instincts. It can lead you to, believe people that maybe you shouldn't believe. So a lack of confidence can be really, really dangerous. I want to talk to you a little bit before we get into the overconfidence piece, because look, I see y'all, and I know that this happens too. Okay, we are humans. We are prone to both, but I want to talk a little bit in this episode about kind of recognizing that you might have a lack of confidence. And like I said, the signs of that may be like fear, feeling really fearful, feeling, like you don't really understand what's going on, feeling like you're not really able to make the moves that you want to make. Maybe you're even feeling jealous of other people, right? But if you had the confidence in yourself, if you had the confidence in your skills, you would know, and this is true for life, okay? You would know that you're not competing with anybody else. You don't need to compete with anybody else. It's just you and you alone in the market, right? You only compete with you. But if you lack confidence, you might find yourself like looking at other people's performance, wondering how you stack up, feeling dumb about moves that you made. And so these are not good things, right? These things are not great to have. And I like to operate, this show is very much market mindset. I'm always talking about the need to have logic. And so when you lack confidence, you may not be able to do that, right? When you lack confidence, you may find yourself letting emotions make decisions for you instead of being able to confidently act based on facts and logical information. So these can be some signs of a lack of confidence. But I think if we're going to grow in this investing space, right? If we're going to learn, if we're going to, excel, if we're going to be able to see opportunities that are presented to us, we need to be able to build that confidence. We need to be able to feel confident in our decisions, because as I always say, while we are not fortune tellers, certain moves have to be made in this market and in life, right? If you're going to succeed, you don't necessarily get anywhere by being comfortable. So I think if you're experiencing a lack of confidence, a lot of viewers, you may have heard of something even called imposter syndrome, right? Where you feel like an imposter. You think that you should know what you're doing, but then you feel like you don't, and that can hold you back too, right? So if you are feeling like imposter syndrome or a lack of confidence, these are just a couple things that I would like to mention for you to try to get over that hump. And I have to say, as a disclaimer, as I do in every single episode, you guys hopefully know by now, this is not financial advice, okay? I am not telling you what to do. I am not a financial advisor. I do study this stuff a lot. I find psychology very, very fascinating, and I do report on this stuff. But please also always do your own research when it comes to your own financial decisions. And feel free to reach out to a certified professional if you have questions. All right, so we did that disclaimer. Here are a couple ways that I want to encourage you, things that I encourage you to do if you want to build your confidence when it comes to investing. And actually, I think that these two things hold true in life in general, right? If you do these two things when you're lacking in confidence in general, you can actually set yourself up pretty well. So the first one is, wait for it, drum roll. Okay. First thing is to do more research. Do more research. Do your own research. I hinted at this one a little bit. The more prepared you can get, the more information you can have, the more you can make decisions based on logic, based on things that you understand about fundamentals, based on knowledge about a particular offering or team or whatever it is, the more confidence you will feel, because you're not operating from an emotional orientation. You're operating from a logical orientation, and therefore you can sort of feel like you're making your decisions based on data, right? Based on things that actually you can, I was going to say touch and feel, but you can't always do that with data. But you know what I mean? Based on things that you can actually prove out and look at and reference for why you are making these decisions. So I would say definitely do your own research. We love saying that here, but that is for a good reason, because it sets you up to have more confidence. It sets you up, obviously, to have more information, and it sets you up to have better decisions. And a second way to build confidence, particularly if it comes, when it comes to investing, particularly if you are having imposter syndrome, if you're struggling, if you're finding yourself looking around wondering what is even going on here, right? After you do your research, a second way to build confidence is to take small actions. Now, if you're a trader, that might be things like paper trading, right? You might just do trades on paper. You're not really risking any money. Or you might be risking like very small dollar amounts to kind of get yourself in there and to understand the game. It's sort of like if you were going to ride a bike, right? If you're learning to ride a bike, you're not immediately going to hop off, I hope. Okay, please tell me. You're not immediately going to hop on this bike, go ride, the canyon, go, you're not going to do crazy stuff. You're not going to immediately try to do backflips and crazy stuff and go on off roads, right? You're going to start, probably if you were a kid, you're going to start with little training wheels, or you're going to start with someone there to spot you. And that is the same kind of approach you can have in investing and in trading if you're trying to build confidence. Is start with little moves. As an investor, maybe for you that looks like dollar cost averaging, right? Maybe for you that looks like, okay, I really did my research on this token, and I'm going to go ahead and dollar cost average in, and I'll buy $10 now, and I'll buy another $10 in a week. And, if I feel comfortable, maybe I'll put in 25, right? Like that's how you can start out, but just take some action and check in and see how you feel. And that's how you can build confidence. And by the way, we talk about this, we've talked about in other, episodes, how we will make mistakes. You do make mistakes, that happens. But as you build more confidence, you will start to understand that this doesn't mean that you're a bad investor necessarily, although you might be, so that's another conversation. But this doesn't mean that you're a bad person, definitely, right? Just the mistakes are part of the process. And as you take on more decision making and do more actions, your confidence in turn can grow. So I would say to start with those two things if you find that you lack confidence, and hopefully that'll get you on the right path. Now, I promised you also at the beginning of this episode that we would talk about overconfidence. I think this is really important to discuss because, and this is super important, even if you've been in this investing game for, when we're talking about one crypto cycle, even a couple, right? I still think there's something here that you can hopefully take in from me. And again, I would love to know your thoughts if you've been in it for a while or if you're just early, but overconfidence also can lead to bad outcomes. right? I'm gonna say it again. I'm gonna say it again. Overconfidence also can lead to bad outcomes. And that is, an investing trap that I think that you have to watch out for, right? Just because you called it right in the last cycle that you were in doesn't mean that you're going to call it right in this one. Just because you got a little lucky and, earlier in the cycle doesn't mean that that luck, and I'm putting that in air quotes, okay, is going to hold out in this one. We have to be really, really careful about overinflating our past successes. And we have to be really, really careful about forgetting our failures. Let me explain. So when I was preparing for this episode, I was looking around and I found this really interesting research paper on investing and overconfidence. Investor memory of past performance is positively biased and predicts overconfidence. Basically, what it's saying is that your memory of your past performance sort of is biased to your success, right? And it predicts that you may, in fact, be overconfident about things. So what happens, as the authors of this paper explain, and as you probably know, right, when you're thinking about your past performance, you're sort of in a highlight reel, like sometimes, right? You're like, oh my gosh, I did so good with that early investment into that great token. I'm amazing. I'm so smart. Or you think to yourself like, oh, I think I got better returns. But if you actually look at your portfolio, you might find that your returns were not as high as you thought, right? Like we tend to be able to remember our euphoria, and we tend to maybe have selective forgetting when it comes to our failures. But selective forgetting, and I like that term, actually, I think I'm going to remember it going forward, right? Selective amnesia is what I've heard too. When you have that kind of selective amnesia, it can make you overconfident because you forget the mistakes you made and you think that you're just fully equipped. Yes, like you're fully amazing and wonderful and you don't make mistakes. And then you go into things and you do make mistakes. Why? Because you've miscalculated and overestimated your confidence and your abilities. And this happens with humans in general, right? Again, the show is Market Mindset, but it applies to various parts of life. You may remember, if you've ever seen those TV shows where people try stunts. Okay, if you've ever seen TikTok and people are like trying these stunts and you're like, oh my goodness, please don't do it. Please don't leap over those 17, bricks or whatever it is. Like people overestimate their abilities all the time. All right. People think that they are better at things than they really are. This is how we are. Sometimes we're a little arrogant. What can I say? And so I would just say when it comes to investing, to be really, really careful of that, because the stakes of overconfidence, broken bones are one thing. Obviously, no one wants those. And so the stakes in investing are losing money in your portfolio. The stakes of investing are getting wrecked. If you are so overconfident in yourself that you are willing to ignore fundamentals, right? You are willing to ignore signs to the contrary. You are going along with herd mentality because it supports your view, because you are amazing. If you're willing to ignore facts and logic because of your own overconfidence, or if you're willing to have selective memory about your past performance and jump into things that are risky, jump into things that you don't understand, right? Because you think you're so smart. So yes, you can jump into this and you invest in something that you don't understand at all. You can end up not doing too well. And that goes for year 1 of investing, year 5 of investing, year 10 of investing, right? I think, by the way, at any point, feel free to, like I said, send me your comments about this. Have you done this? I think the very best investors have at one time or another been wrong, been flying high, right? Been very confident in what they thought, not willing to abandon, an early idea maybe, right? And then we saw this even with this crypto cycle. We had people who were insisting, and, they weren't alone, that Bitcoin, in the year 2022 was going to hit $100,000. And that didn't happen, right? But they were so confident in what they had mapped out. They were so confident in maybe whatever research they had done. And they were not, in some cases, willing to listen when people were like, hey, guys, hey, fundamentals are not looking too good. We got a lot of inflation going on. We have the Fed making decisions about, lowering the balance sheet. We have a lot going on, right? Like people were not willing to consider that because they were so overconfident. And by the way, this is not like anything bad to say, because I will say on a side note, I think if you are in this space, crypto is so new. Experts in crypto, we're so new in the space that you're very brave, I think, if you have an idea and you run with it. I'm doing this show even, right? Like, you're very brave if you have a point of view in this arena of investing and you are willing to go forth and talk about it. I give you kudos as long as you're not trying to mislead people. If you have an idea and you share it, I think that's amazing, right? Because we're all learning in this space. I learn every day. I always say that. But what I do think about this topic is when it comes to overconfidence, we have to be careful that we are not acting out of that, right? That we are not forgetting our past failures, that we are not glossing over information that could be contrarian. And so I just want to sort of let you know that I think both, forms of whether you don't have enough confidence or whether you have too much are really valid to talk about. And I just am really glad that we've had this time to kind of discuss it. I would love to know from you, have you seen yourself in either? Oh, and really quick before we wrap up. So when we're talking about overconfidence, there are some things that you can do to kind of avoid it. One, really don't be emotional with decisions that you're making again, right? Like, actually do the research, actually be willing to look at other opinions, actually be willing to understand like fundamental things that may be going on as you're doing your own technical analysis, right? Like, just be open to learning about new information. And so if you then are still steadfast in your opinion, great, but you've now sort of measured it, backed it up with some other information. And now you're not necessarily acting from a place of overconfidence, but a place of, learned, learned analysis. Okay, we'll say that. I would say a second thing is be willing to talk to other people, right, about decisions that you're making. If someone happens to say to you, if you have a family member and they're like, whoa, hey, you seem like you're going a little hard on this investment. Like, are you sure you know what you're doing? Like, be willing, if people know you really well, be willing to be open if they happen to notice that you're doing things that maybe seem a little risky, things that maybe seem a little overconfident, okay? Listen to your spouses. If your spouses are noticing some things and they love you, like, be willing to like, okay, maybe I'll take a look at that, right? There's one other thing that I want to mention from the research paper that I mentioned. The academic writers who wrote this paper, and I will read it actually, they found that simply making investors aware of their past returns reduces overconfidence. And it doesn't eliminate it completely, but it reduces it. So remember how I said in the beginning of this part of the video that when we're talking about overconfidence, we're talking about sometimes we have selective memory, right? Sometimes we selectively forget the mistakes we've made. So they're saying if you actually look back at your portfolio, which hopefully you are tracking it. If you actually look back at it and you're like, wow, okay, I thought I did really well with that investment, but actually I see that I'm a little more down than I remember. Or actually, okay, I can see that I did really well in this month, but not really well in that month. If you actually take time to look back at your past decisions, these writers are saying that you can actually reduce overconfidence. And again, why? Because you're reminding yourself that you are a fallible individual. You're reminding yourself that you do not know everything, right? And you're also reacting logically as opposed to emotionally thinking that you are a wizard of crypto. Okay. Okay. So this was really fun. Thank you so much for being with me today on this episode. I would love to explore this a little bit further, but I think this is a great starting point. And just beware, right? We've talked about various traps on this show. We've talked about herd mentality. We've talked about sunk costs, right? So if you didn't catch those videos, definitely go back on our playlist and check them out. And also, yes, feel free to follow me everywhere. I am at Leslie Quander everywhere, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, all of it. So thank you for being with us today. Thank you for watching. I appreciate all of you. And we will be back to talk to you soon. Have a great day and be confident, but not overly so. Okay, bye.